Oh, she won't be here.
Yeah.
Do you have 7?
Yes, I do. Yes.
It's 7 o'clock, time for our regularly scheduled council meeting. Mike, will you call the roll, please?
Collier Wise.
Here.
Helwig.
Here.
Holland. Here. Humphrey. Here. Price. Sorensen.
Here.
Ward. Here. Wilson. Here. Mayor Powell.
Here. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 3 are minutes, and we had minutes for the July 2nd regular meeting.
Second?
A motion, a second, to approve the July 2nd regular meeting minutes. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Adoption of the agenda. Mike, John, any corrections, additions to the agenda? Okay.
Approval?
Motion, a second, to approve the agenda as printed. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Visitors to be heard. Addressing the council. Persons addressing the council shall use the microphone at the podium. Please raise your hand to be recognized. Go to the podium and state your name and address. For items that are not on the agenda, members of the public may speak under visitors be heard on any topic not on the agenda. Remarks are limited to 5 minutes and no decision will be made at this time. Agenda items. Public testimony will be taken at the beginning of each agenda item after the subject has been announced by the mayor and explained by staff. Any citizen who wishes may speak one time for 5 minutes on each agenda item. Public testimony will then be closed and the topic will be given to the governing body for possible action. At this point, only city council members and staff may discuss the current agenda item unless a council member moves to allow another person to speak and there's unanimous consent from the council. Questions from council members, however, may be directed to staff or a member of the public through the presiding officer at any time. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on any topic that is not on the agenda? Anybody in the audience? Anybody on the council have anything they wish to bring up that's not on our agenda? Okay, then we'll move on to public hearings. Item 6A, a special daily malt beverage and wine license for the Clay County Agricultural Fair Association on or about August 9, 10, and 11, 2018 in the West Arena and on a portion of High Street on August 10, 2018. And Mike, please.
The Clay County Agricultural Fair Association has submitted an application for a special daily malt beverage and wine license for August 9, 10, and 11 in the West Arena for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights, and also on Friday night for a fenced portion of High Street for a band and dance. The notice of hearing is attached along with the police chief's report. As the event will include a band and dance on the street, the ordinance allows the city council to include such conditions and restrictions as the governing body may deem appropriate. The release and indemnification releasing the city from liability for the event was included as part of the street closing request, which was approved in June. Certificate of insurance naming the city as additional insured, including the liquor liability, has not been received yet, but their insurance agent contacted me that he's requested one. So any approval will have to be contingent upon getting that certificate of insurance. The police chief, in his memo, he recommends some parameters be established for the event. The city council might want to consider attaching the following: that 4 to 6 adult volunteers will supervise the event's distribution and consumption of alcohol. As he stated, the number will be determined by the amount and turnout for the dance. Signage will be posted at the entry gates to control area and alcohol dispensing points, stating the alcohol consumption is only allowed inside the fenced area. No one under 21 will be served or allowed to consume alcohol. No intoxicated person or persons will be served. No alcohol can leave the fenced area, and no outside alcohol is allowed in the fenced area. That staff will check all persons wishing to purchase, provide wristbands once the age has been verified, and persons who do not have a wristband or appear to be under 21 will not be allowed to purchase. The city has received the $20 per day for the event, plus the $15 for advertising. Administration recommends approval of special license contingent upon certificate of insurance and complying with the police chief's recommendations.
Thank you, Mike. Does that include servers must be 21 or older?
I guess I don't think he had it in there, but I'm sure everybody would be over that. That's
required.
I think
Okay.
it's,
Okay. Okay. Yep. Okay, it's a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this topic? Seeing none, turn to the council.
I guess we got Jim here if we had any questions on it.
John, I don't necessarily need to speak, but, I mean, if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
He's the president of the Clay County Agricultural Fair Association.
Thank you. Council?
I would move approval with the recommended restrictions that were in the
And the insurance?
We
Okay.
we do have that coming, that's in process, so that'll be fulfilled.
Understood.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Item B, a special daily malt beverage and wine license for Ribs, Rods, Rock and Roll on or about September 7 and 8, 2018 on Main Street between Washington and Court Street, Rodigan Platts, Market Street from Main to Bloomingdale Street, Austin Street from Main to Kidder, Kidder Street from Austin to Court Street from Main to half block south, public parking lot at Market and Kidder, private parking lot at Market and Kidder, and Prospect Street from Main Street to National Street, and to include any other streets closed for the events. Mike, please.
The Ribs, Rods, and Rock and Roll, Inc. has submitted their application for the special daily malt beverage and wine license for their event on September 7th and 8th, 2018. The notice of hearings included in the packet. As the event will be on city streets and city property, ordinance allows the city council to include such conditions and restrictions as the governing body may deem appropriate and consistent with state law. The street closure request is under new business later on the agenda, and the request to exceed allowable noise level follows this on the agenda. The release and indemnification releasing the city from liability for the event is included as part of the street closing request. A request has been made for the certificate of insurance naming the city as additional insured. Same with this one here. The insurance agent had contacted me and indicated that he's working to get a copy but has not been able to provide that yet. The police chief's memo is attached. The police chief recommends the following parameters be established for this event. Staff proposed the organization again reimburse the police department for officers assigned for the event, but limit the overtime wage reimbursement to $750 or actual costs, whichever is lower, and the organization will also be required to provide security personnel. The alcohol purchase area will be controlled as in previous years with physical barriers at Main and Prospect, Main and High, and Main and Kidder. At these barriers, age will be verified, fees collected, and people 21 and over will be given bracelets. During the hours of the car show on Saturday from 11 to 5, open consumption will be allowed outside the purchase area along Main Street between Washington and Church Street, with clear signage at each egress from the area advising no alcohol beyond this point. During the course of the event, the area used by the vendors to prepare food and stage the People's Choice event, which includes Austin between Main and Kidder, Main between Austin and Prospect, Kidder from Austin to Court, Market Street between Main and Bloomingdale, the public parking lot, and the Rodigan Platts, where open consumption would be allowed with signage at each egress from the area advising no alcohol beyond this point. And on Friday evening, the area in Main between Market and Court Street will allow open consumption for alcohol during the cornhole tournament with clear signage at each egress for the area advising no alcohol beyond this point. The city has received the $20 per day and $15 advertising fee. Administration recommend approval of the special daily license for the 7th and 8th, contingent upon the certificate insurance and complying with the police chief's recommendations or any other conditions or restrictions the city council want to place on it. And I know there's representatives of the organization here if you have questions.
Thank you, Mike. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this topic? Seeing none, turn it to the council.
I have a question, if you please. Mike, on this and the next two, since they're all related, and there's some certain amount of turnover by people who are residences and not necessarily the businesses, but aside from public notice of these things, is any other notice given, especially for the street closures and the sound parts? But I mean, maybe you can address that later, but since they're all tied, I thought I'd just bring it up now.
I think when Jenny was in, she mentioned that they had talked to some of the Main Street businesses and were going to make contact with those, or at least for those that in the new areas where stuff was going to be closed, so they'd have an idea of what's changed.
Okay, so the people putting the event on are contacting neighbors, business or residential, or and, okay. Thank you.
Further discussion? Motion and a second to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Item C, a special permit to exceed permissible sound levels by no more than 50% for Ribs Rods Rock and Roll Inc. on or about September 7 and 8, 2018, from 5 p.m. to midnight on Main Street between High and Prospect Streets. And Mike again.
Ribs, Rods, and Rock and Rolls applied for the special permit to exceed allowable sound levels by no more than 50% for the Friday and Saturday night events on September 7th and 8th. The city, the application of the map indicate the stage and sound system will be on West Main Street, facing to the east. The special daily license was approved earlier. The street closing is under new business on the agenda. The city council need to determine at the public hearing if it's a suitable location during an allowable time for the applicant to demonstrate the public benefit for this event. The fee of $25 has been paid. The notice of hearing, the diagram for the event are included, and administration would recommend approval of the special permit unless information is presented at the public hearing indicated there's a problem related to noise at the event.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone in the audience wish to comment on this item? Council?
Move approval. Second.
A motion and a second to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Old business, one item. A second reading of Ordinance 1383, amending City of Vermillion Code of Ordinances, Title 13, General Offenses, Chapter 130, Section 130.10, to amend the definition of discharging firearms. John, please.
Thank you. This is an item that's been before the council previously. Earlier this year, we were looking at the ordinance and realized that the current ordinance that we have was outdated and did not provide some clear direction, particularly as it pertains to ongoing events in the community. And so we went about trying to correct that situation, provide for more clear setup. And the new ordinance does have a couple of changes, as it did last time when you saw it on June 18th. The new ordinance does provide, in the event that they would need to, a code enforcement officer could discharge a firearm within the city limits. It does remove a couple of shooting galleries that are no longer present in our community on the university campus and also at the National Guard Armory. The first reading was unanimously approved, as I mentioned, on June 18th. The second reading was tabled on July 2nd, as there were some questions that the Clay County Flyers 4-H Club had raised with respect to insurance. And we've worked with them, and I believe we've answered those questions. Liz DeVelder's been the main point of contact on that. And we've most of the questions they had to do with the application form that was included in your packet there. So I believe we've gotten those revised. They have provided me a copy of their insurance. The issue for the 4-H Club is that they get their insurance through the 4-H Club, which gets it through another university north of here. through the state. So that was part of what was limiting their ability to provide the city's additional named insured. That application form has been revised and is included in your packet, and has also been provided to Liz Developer that way. We also, tried to include in that form, as you'll see, the difference in terms of providing proof of insurance. As you saw a couple of months ago, proof of insurance is particularly important when it's taking place on city-owned property, where some of these may be taking place on private property. And we distinguish between nonprofit, charitable, or youth groups versus a private entity that may want to do this sort of event. The ordinance itself is exactly the same as what you saw on June 18th. The language in there said that it required an event to be adequately insured, so it didn't get down into the specifics of a nonprofit versus for-profit. So that part of it has not changed. One question that arose, and so there's a copy that was provided to you this evening, sort of a draft ordinance 1383, is before it referenced that shooting, I'll just pick on this one, shooting galleries approved by the city manager and authorized by the police department. And so questions raised about making that consistent. We're talking about an individual and a department. So the change before you, the copy that you found your place this evening says that shooting galleries approved by the city manager or designee and authorized by the police chief or designee. So we made that consistent to reference an individual or the designee that he or she might, if they're unable to do it, utilize for that event. Otherwise, that would be the only change that we had. So we recommend approval of ordinance.
Thank you, John. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to comment on this? Seeing none, council?
Mayor?
Yes, Steve.
Jim, do we need to define adequately insured in the ordinance, or is it simply enough that the city defines it in the application? I'm sorry. Number 3, right?
Properly insured is going to vary from event to event, depending upon the numbers of people that may be participating, location, the type, things like that, the venue, and how well controlled it is. And so I think properly insured is a case-by-case decision by city administration to determine what the adequate limits are.
Not laughing at you. We're not. Can you liven this up a little bit?
Thank
This
you.
is the first.
I move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve second reading of ordinance 1383. Second reading, so we need a roll call vote. I'm sorry.
I just had a couple more questions than I brought up in the past, but I still wonder if this language is so broad. Are people going to have a permit and have a pea shooter contest? Do you have a slingshot contest? Do you have a rubber band gun contest? I mean, this thing doesn't limit anything that shoots a projectile is illegal unless you have a license from the city. And I just think that's crazy. And the other thing is, I still don't believe that animal control people need to carry firearms when there's plenty of police officers on call. Help them out. That's how I feel about it. Thank you. Really good.
Thank you.
Do we need to say as amended? Because this isn't what was in the package.
Yep.
Okay, now, roll call vote, please.
Overall results, 7 yes, 1 no. Motion passes. Thank you. get closer. Moving on to new business.
The,
18 years, and this is a first. Okay, new business. Item A, street closure request for Ribs, Rods, Rock and Roll on or about September 7 and 9, 2018 on Main Street between Washington and Church Street, Rodigan Plots, Market Street from Main to Bloomington Street, Austin Street from Main to Kidder, Kidder Street from Austin to half block east of Market, Court Street from Main to half block south, and Prospect from Main Street to National Street in John.
Thank you. I think we're all familiar with what the event is. It's a signature event of our community, and it's been going on for several years. And earlier this evening, we heard about the malt beverage and permit. We've heard about the noise, so I won't elaborate that discussion. I think the mayor did a very nice job of reading the streets there. And Jose placed a map there, Don, which I think we can reference, probably the quickest part of it. It'll show on the map in kind of the pinkish or red color, depending whether you're reading it, it's called it pink, looks a little redder there to me. But those streets that are marked with that color, the closure would begin at 7 a.m. on Friday, and that would run until noon on Saturday. And this is September 7th to September 9th of this year. And then those would be augmented or additional streets that are marked in blue would be closed on Saturday from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m., predominantly related to the car show. That's become quite a large event over the last couple of years. So I think we're all familiar with it, but I'd be happy to answer questions. There are also representatives in the room who can help explain it as well.
Any comments from anyone in the audience? Please.
On your map there.
You want to put it up? Jose, you want to put the map up? Oh, has he got it?
Wherever, if you want to pull it up or whatever.
There it is.
I know you guys gave permission for like the beer, wine, all that to sell all the way around there. I mean, I've already talked to them, but we've allowed them to use our parking lot over there. We have an event going on that same day, plus it's a home football game, plus we have to cater 100 and some people away on that day. I just prefer to not have it closed right here. And in their new business right here where they write it, they only have it wrote to the half block, but on here you have it marked off that it does go all the way to court. You gave permission?
Yes, we had, in the agenda memo, we had it correct in here on the agenda that you have before you. It does have the half block east of Market. The request was for the full block, correct? Yes.
Please.
Chad, to clarify, we just had a meeting tonight. We are only going to take the part up to the alley because we were going to have our kids barbecue contest there, but we've moved it onto Main Street, so we don't need it. We're just going to go to the alley as usual.
Sounds good, yeah.
Okay. Further?
It's essentially right here,
Mm-hmm.
Can we show that, please? Okay, which part did you
So
cross?
essentially, this part here, that's where it's going to break, and this here you won't need anymore?
Right.
Okay. Is that, Chad? Is that?
Yeah, if we didn't have an event going on,
Yeah.
I wouldn't care, but.
Okay, that takes care of your concern.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. Any other audience discussion? I'll turn to the council. Motion is second to approve as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Item B, request to close North Plum Street from East Cherry Street to South Dakota Highway 50 on Friday, August 17, 2018, from 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. for USD's move-in day. And John, please.
Thank you. I'm kind of in my comments address both item B and C under new business. Obviously, two separate votes are needed. They're two separate agenda items, but they're both related to USD's move-in day. It is the same request as we've seen for the last several years. USD does a very nice job of organizing this and timing it so as to have the students staged as they come and check in. But as part of that, they do request the closure with this particular item of Plum Street, from Cherry Street up to the Highway 50 bypass, so that they can if you will, stack the cars, so to speak, as they come in and load the items and then move to designated parking lots. They do a nice job of working with cones, with University Police Department and their facilities, and they also notify their residents, particularly in the mobile home park and the apartments on the east side of Plum Street, so that they are aware of the closure. It is a lengthy time, obviously, from 5 a.m. to 4 p.m., but it does facilitate move-in for a great number of students in the North Complex and other buildings that would pass through there, get assignments from there. The only question that we did have arise this year has to do with the insurance, and that is reflective of the state's insurance question in terms of hold harmless and what they can and can't sign. And so included in your packet was language. I won't read it to you unless you're really interested that way. The city attorney is comfortable with it. Basically, I would sum it up by any liability created by the employee of the university is their responsibility, or any liability created by the city is our responsibility, is in essence what they do, which is different than what we saw earlier this evening.
You've been here a while, you call it the bypass. Some of us do. Well, but now it's, the state designates it as 50, and then we're, anyway. Comments or questions on this one? Council? Was that a second? Okay. A motion and a second to approve the request. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Item C, request to close Rose Street from Coyote Village to the Dakota Dome on Friday, August 17, 2018, from 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. for USD's move-in day. And John, please.
Same type of request, same time period, same day. The only difference is this one's a little bit easier because there are no property owners other than the university to be notified. So it is. Other than that, the insurance question is the same. We'd recommend approval.
Council?
Move approval. Second.
A motion and a second to approve the request. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item D, final plat of Lot 2 and Block 1 of Madison Park addition to the City of Vermillion, Clay County, South Dakota. And Jose, please.
Thank you. This is a plat, as you mentioned, for Madison Park. This is located on the east side of town. Just for reference sake, this would be Norbeck Street. Clark would be a little bit further down here. Roosevelt, Lincoln, Madison as the dead end right now in Norbeck. Right now, everything on the north and east would actually be a farm ground. On the south, you have those it's an apartment complex that was recently constructed for housing. And then there's also quite a few apartment complexes on the west side of Norbeck Street. This plat is going to be for roughly a lot 2, Block 1, which is roughly 4.2 acres in size. At the same time, they will also be dedicating Roosevelt Street from Norbeck all the way to this portion over here, and then at that point, then they will also be dedicating half of Mickelson Street as it goes south. In addition to that, they will be dedicating the required 8-foot easement, and as I mentioned in my memo, they will be dedicating a 41-foot utility easement on the south side of their property. Now that utility easement is related to a different subject, I guess, that the council will be considering at a future meeting, hopefully on August 6th. At that meeting, the council will be considering the proposed vacation of Madison Street, or at least a request for vacating Madison Street by the developer. This plat already assumes that vacation occurs, so as part of the recommendation, we're going to be asking that the city council approve the plat with the condition that the vacation of Madison were to happen in the future. The planning commission did review this plat, and they recommended approval to the city council. At the same meeting, at their meeting on July 9th, they also reviewed and approved the final or the preliminary plat for the entire area as well. And this proposed plat meets that preliminary plat that they approved at that meeting as well. So with that, I recommend that the city council approve conditional on the vacation of Madison Street.
Questions for Jose, please? Tom, please.
Real quick, why aren't we going all the way to Crawford?
I'm sorry?
Why aren't we going all the way to Crawford?
If we could show that map again.
I mean, it's there.
The reason that the plat doesn't show it going all the way to Crawford, this portion here of
Right.
Roosevelt has already been dedicated.
Oh, it already has.
Yeah, it already has. So we're only dedicating the portion that these guys own right now. But that portion there, it's already been dedicated.
So does that mean it's gonna be a street?
At some point, yeah.
Is that part of the Madison Park addition?
With this construction, no. They're just dedicating the
Is
street.
any part of that street that we've platted part of the condition of it, or are they gonna go to Madison? Or Mickelson, excuse me?
Mickelson would be right here.
I know, are they gonna go that far with the street?
No, not at this point. If anything were to be constructed with the construction that would happen on Lot 2, we would actually not be, more than likely, there's going to be a developer's agreement that would require a portion of Roosevelt Street to be constructed when future development occurs to the east, or when the council deems it necessary. But at this point, the developer has been asking to have access off Norbeck Street.
Norbeck only?
At this point, yes.
Thank you.
Tom?
Mostly a curiosity again, but because it's already been dedicated, that what you just mentioned, that portion of Roosevelt, is that why there's a slight turn at the east end of Roosevelt where it meets Mickelson?
Well, if you can go back, yep, okay.
It's not a straight line.
This portion here that I
No,
just
no,
brought-
all the
no.
way east to
Yeah, I know.
Mickelson.
I know. That
Oh,
portion
because
there-
it all has to line up, huh?
Yep, that portion there that I actually just hatched, that was actually dedicated back in the 60s. And this portion of Roosevelt actually was an offset. So we straightened out that offset just so you could actually go across that intersection. And because we straightened that out, that offset, then you would have had another offset over here. Well, that was mid-block. So then we're just going to be, essentially you're going to have a sweep like you mentioned, but it's meant to have eliminate the offsets at the intersections, essentially.
Thank you. Other comments, discussion by the council? Pleasure of the council. A motion and a second to approve the final plat of Lot 2, Block 1. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thanks, Jose. Item E, final plat of lots 2 and 3 in Block 1, lots 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, 11, 13, and 15 through 21 in Block 2, lots 1, 2, and 5 in Block 3, lots 4 through 8 and 11 in Block 4, Lot 1 in Block 5, and lots 5 through 10 in Block 6, all of Bliss Point addition to the city of Vermillion in the south half of that number of the 5th prime meridian, Clay County, South Dakota. Jose.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to try and do this, see if it works out. It's a big plat for us. It's probably the biggest one we've seen in a long time. But essentially, like you mentioned, it's 33 lots. It does take 3 pages, but as you can see, and hopefully it's a little bit easier to read on your packets, but they're just going to be filling out the Bliss Point as far as all the lots that haven't been platted already or developed. And throughout the whole, I like to call it TIF 1, they have roughly 33 lots throughout this area that they're trying to plat at this point. So it's nothing new. It's something that already the Planning Commission has approved the preliminary plat for this. This is what they were originally planning on doing. These lots are sized for single-family homes, but it's important, I guess, to make the clarification that single-family homes includes houses, and it also includes townhomes. So both of those types of construction are allowable here. The townhomes would actually be a conditional use permit, and those the Planning Commission grants, and there's a process for that as well. But either of those two would be allowable in this location. If the VCDC or the owner of any of these lots at some point wanted to do townhomes, then the lots that are being platted right now with this plat would have to be replatted into something smaller that would allow for a townhome to be more economically feasible for them, I guess. I do have this here just in case some people find that plat hard to see, but essentially here you have the roads and Bliss Point. This area here that has been graded, that's the TIF 1, as I like to call it. Obviously this drawing here, aerial, is a little bit dated just due to the fact that there's a lot more houses there right now. But the plat that they're essentially submitting will be filling this out with available lots for construction for the developer. It saves them, it saves the VCDC actually quite a lot of money. One plat for one lot is $30 roughly. This plat with 30 lots, 33 lots is about $90. So it's actually quite a big savings for them. With that being said, the City Planning Commission did review this at their July 9th meeting, and they recommended approval. Plating fee has been paid. Staff recommends approval of the final plat.
Thanks, Jose. Council? Question, Steve?
Was there any discussion at the Planning Commission to have smaller plats to require, well, what I'm wondering about is if these plats are too big and therefore too expensive for affordable housing?
No, I don't think the cost of the plat is, it's too,
I'm
let me
talking,
rephrase that. When I mean the one lot, you're talking about $30. So it's actually not a,
I'm sorry, that's not what I'm worried about.
Okay.
I'm worried about the size of each
the actual
individual.
physical size of each
Yeah.
lot. Actually, no. I think what they're finding out is that some of these lots are probably a little bit more difficult to construct, not because they're not affordable, just because the type of people that are trying to buy the lots are looking for a bigger lot to put bigger houses. So it's not that they're unaffordable, it's just that they might be too small for what people are wanting to build on them. I mean, these lots, there's a lot of places in the country that use these. Sioux Falls would actually be one of them, for example. So, yeah.
May I, Steve? I think when we move to the east half of Bliss Point, there might be more of the smaller lots. Would that be a fair statement?
Actually, on the way that the zoning ordinance stands right now, if I may, on this map, there's actually supposed to be in the planning process, in the preliminary plat, there's actually supposed to be a street right here where my pin is. Everything west of there would actually have single-family homes, but of the similar size. The lots would be similar in size to this. Now, everything east of there is actually supposed to be for townhomes or duplexes as an allowable use, and then a conditional use would be apartments. So there's actually no single-family homes, detached single-family homes east of that. Again, but that's zoning. It could be amended. It could be changed. So right now, that's the way it stands. But townhomes, you could have them anywhere in here as long as a conditional use is approved.
Howard? I'm sorry. Howard?
Area C is not being plotted yet, right?
Area C, if I remember
Well,
right,
that's,
I think that's the open field.
yeah,
Yeah, no, that's not being platted yet.
so it's over the Wilder Street that we're plotting.
Yeah, essentially, you're gonna be platting everything that's fronting one of the streets that's built right now.
Yeah,
Yep.
everything, well, Wilder Street, would the west side of Wilder Street be part of this?
This street here, where my pen is?
Yeah,
No. This street, this is just gonna be platting this portion here.
oh, just
That's
facing
fronting
on
Yeah.
Joplin.
Yep, just everything
Okay.
that's fronting an existing street.
Okay, thank you.
Tom?
Thank you. Since the fire chief's here, and again, curiosity, are all the streets in this, under these plats, accessible by fire apparatus?
Yeah, they're all accessible, including the roundabout. If the roundabout's big enough, we can get the ladder trucks through there.
Thank you.
Further discussion, council?
Second.
A motion and a second to approve final plat on all of those. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thanks, Jose.
Thanks.
Item E, transfer of fire department equipment to Hot Springs Fire Department. And Chief, please. That should be F.
Thank you.
F, I'm sorry.
You had me confused there for a second, Mayor,
Yeah,
on
me
which
too.
one we were on. This is for a transfer of asset to Hot Springs Fire Department. A little bit of background, firefighting gear is typically specific in nature and it's typically custom fit for each individual person. Recently, one of our members has moved on to Hot Springs, South Dakota for a job and has since joined their department. Their department does not have any gear that fits her properly. Their chief contacted me and asked if we'd be interested in possibly doing a transfer of her gear to their department so that she would have her custom fit gear that she had here. Our department's requesting transfer of one set of bunker gear to the Hot Springs Fire Department. The following state statute does allow the city to make transfers of property. It's 6-5-2. I won't read you that long paragraph there. But the city council would need to approve the transfer of this equipment to the aforementioned department. There is no financial consideration at this point, and administration recommends that the city council approve the transfer of equipment from our department to the Hot Springs Fire Department.
Comments or questions for the chief? Tom, please.
Thanks. Was this part of the gear bought through the Homeland Security grants and things like that?
No.
In other words, it's not a wash with the whole state. And
No.
did Hot Springs even offer to just sort of chip something in?
They did, but they weren't sure if they could. They weren't going to be able to buy her turnout gear when I had spoke to their chief. And so at this point, we were just asking to transfer the asset so that she can get into gear and be of an asset to their department.
Okay. Yeah, people might be interested to know how much a set of gear costs.
The average set of gear costs around $2,000. That's coat and pants.
Does that include wildland boots and things?
No, this is just structural.
I move approval.
Structural gear.
Thank you.
Motion is second to approve the transfer of fire department equipment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Item G, Planning Commission member appointment. In consultation with the council, we're appointing Jeff Kleeman to be a member of the Planning Commission. So if, John, you would notify the people. Oh, I'm sorry. And then you can notify. Motion is second to approve Jeff Kleeman as Planning Commission. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Now will you notify the people? All right. Everybody take your sleeping pill. He was prepared ahead of time. Item H is 2017 Audited Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. And Mike, page 1, or where are we starting?
We're not even going to open the book.
Good.
The 2017 unaudited report was given to the council in March of 18, and since that time, Williams & Company has completed the audit. The final audit was presented to the council Monday noon. The Department of Legislative Audit has oversight over all city audits within the state, and they have provided their letter, which is included in the packet, accepting the audit report. As I stated, the auditor presented information at the noon meeting on it. The audit reports were handed out then, and those that missed the noon meeting, I brought you your reading material tonight, so that if you want to read through it at your own leisure, that would be fine. The City Council needs to accept the audited financial report for 2017. I included in here our audit fee for this year. The base was $25,000 plus $2,600 for each federal grant. As he stated at noon, that major federal grant in the airport was considered a major federal grant this year, so the total audit fee is $27,600.
That's it? I mean, that's it?
That's it.
Council,
We just have to move to accept.
do we accept?
Just to accept the report.
So moved.
I almost got that before the first. Rich?
Nothing was said, but it should be said that, once again, the auditors really praised our accounting system. And for that, Mike, thank you very much, and your crew.
And probably one other thing, he did have a management letter in the box of reports that was left there after dinner. That's to the, it's addressed to the mayor and city council. I made copies and disseminated that tonight for everybody, so you have a copy of that. As he talked about at noon, there was one adjusting entry, so the very back page has that one adjusting entry that they found. So we do have something to show what that was.
Okay. And I'm not an accountant, but I see the DR and the CR balance.
Yeah.
Now, did we accept?
Got a motion and a second, just need a vote.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Bid openings, we have Jose with Backhoe.
Thank you. City Council approved the replacement of the Water Department's backhoe as part of the 2018 Equipment Replacement Fund purchases. The city cannot accept a bid for less than 90% of the appraised value. The 2008 backhoe was appraised at $30,000. Bids were advertised in the local paper with bid opening scheduled for July 11th. No bids were received at that time. However, staff did contact the supplier of the new backhoe, Titan Machinery, out of Sioux Falls. They're the case dealer selling us the new backhoe. They have agreed to purchase a used backhoe for $27,740, which is 90% of the $30,000. They would be paying the city at the time that the new backhoe is delivered. The revenue from the sale of the surplus equipment would go back to the Equipment Replacement Fund. And administration recommends allowing staff to sell the equipment to Titan Machinery for $27,740.
Thank you, Jose. Questions for Jose?
Second?
A motion and a second to approve the sale of surplus water department backhoe. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Next is Jose, sale of surplus generator, please.
Thank you. This is a 1971 O&M generator. This is actually utilized by the wastewater department, and surprise, it's not in the equipment replacement fund. So I don't know why I'm doing it, but I'm just kidding. The property, the equipment was actually appraised at $3,300 on May 21st. The generator was advertised for sale. We did receive one bid on July 11th. And that was from First Rate Excavate for $4,000, which is $700 more than what it was appraised at. The revenue from the sale of the surplus equipment will be placed in the wastewater fund. Administration recommends awarding the sale of the generator to First Rate Excavate for $4,000.
Thank you, Jose. Council? Motion and second to approve the sale of the surplus generator. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thanks, Jose. Next item, item 10, City Manager's Report. John, please.
Thank you. Just a reminder that the Thursdays on the Platts events have resumed, so that Main Street from Market Street west through the length of Radigan Platts, and then Market Street as it abuts Radigan Platts will be closed from 4 to 8 p.m. Pretty much every Thursday through the end of August for the Thursdays on the Platts events. Recently, the City Council adopted ordinances establishing a Human Relations Commission as well as the Historic Preservation Commission. Those actually become effective later this week, so we'll then begin the advertising for individuals to apply for the positions on those two respective commissions. So they need to complete an expression of interest form available on our website or City Hall. We anticipate that City Council would make those appointments at your August 20th meeting, as we hopefully will have enough applicants for both those respective commissions. ICAP is planning a public meeting, and it'll be on Tuesday, July 31st. It'll be at 7 p.m. here in the City Council chambers, and they would be presenting the findings of the recent study to determine if Vermillion needs a community center, what that community center might include. So that's Tuesday, July 31st at 7 p.m. And then one other street closing, Habitat for Humanity is having a front yard barbecue. It's on Thursday, July 26th. And as part of this, they requested the City Council approve the closing of Washington Street between Clark and Dartmouth, and so it'll be closed on Thursday, the 26th, from 4 to 8 p.m. for that event.
Thank you, John. Comments or questions for our City Manager, anyone? Seeing none.
And you can confirm the budget meetings are going to be August 15th.
Wednesday, Thursday?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, then we'll move to invoices payable. Any comments or questions for Mike on the invoices payable? How about if we pay our bills?
Move to pay our bills. Second.
All motion to pay our bills. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. We have no consensus agenda, Steve.
Second.
Motion is second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.